Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? I hope you're all doing very, very well. Whoa, what's going on here? This big, massive kiss curl thing taking place? I don't know. I want to try and make it symmetrical. Oh, well, it's symmetrical, but the curl's gone. Folks, hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, yet again, we have to beat the trail to find Nikki Bulley. We are now over 3 weeks. It was 3 weeks to the day, would have been yesterday. She went missing on January 27th, 2023, in the morning, on a Friday morning, having dropped her two primary school kids off at school and then taken the dog, their Springer Spaniel, Willow, for a walk along the banks and the fields beside the River Wyre in St Michael's on Wyre, Lancashire. I've discussed it a lot. You guys know that. It's all over the news. It will not go away. It will not go away. And we're no closer to finding her or solving the mystery, which this very genuinely is a mystery. Now, I've done, I think, 8 videos. This may be the 9th video on this case that I've done. I'll just reiterate again that I don't normally do this sort of thing. This is not my channel. It's not about missing people, but I do find some cases, if they're mysterious and they ignite my fascination and interest, then I'll talk about it. And this has done nothing but stoke the fires of Kilt-Man's really mystified intrigue into this, not least because of the complete mishandling of the case by Lancashire Police. Now, we're going to cover a fair bit here because what's happened since my last video, there was an update and I thought, oh God, straight away it had banished my previous video to the mists of time because I was out of date, because the Lancashire Police did a press conference and they mentioned certain things and only created another void for themselves, which media and social media speculation was going to completely flood and engulf like a big tsunami. So then, after I'd done the video, literally about 2-3 hours afterwards, they came out again and did another press release giving more details out. We're going to come on to these. I'm going to cover them in depth. And only made things worse for themselves. Incredibly worse. I can't see how Lancashire Police are ever going to survive this now. No matter what the outcome is. They could be heroes and find her alive and bring her back safe and sound. They could be, but they'll be demonised forever for the way they've handled this case. So, what has happened since? I mean, we don't need a recap of the whole thing, do we? But things are changing day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. If you're, what the hell's come back, hasn't it? If you're watching these things on the news and the mass media, it's the front headline, item. If you go online, it's just, it fills everything. It's on every forum that even movie forums I go on, because my channel is about movies, not about missing people, about movies. But she's there as well. There's people talking about a movie version of this. Jesus. This has gone unbelievably volcanic. And people are getting burned as well. And justifiably so, let me add. So, okay. The press conference was a few days ago. And you had Superintendent Rebecca Smith and Assistant Chief Constable Peter Lawson. And they delivered quite a lengthy press conference. And I reported on that. But they made reference to missing mother of 2, Nikki Bulley, age 45, reference to vulnerabilities, that she has vulnerabilities. So she was instantly a high-risk case. And because of those vulnerabilities, and we put it as a high-risk case, that's why we concentrated on the river. Okay? They've maintained throughout all of this, 3 weeks now, 3 weeks and a day, that she's in the water. Yeah, yes, They have searched certain streets and caravan parks and houses several times over, and the fields. They have done that, but their focus is the River Wire. I've talked about the geography and the length of the River Wire many times now. I'm not going into it again. Police divers, and they are combing that river. They've now focused on the estuary where it's tidal and it's much, much wider. Probably a hell of a lot deeper as well. And there's lots of marshland on either side. It's a hell of an area to cover. I've discussed all this. But their main working hypothesis is that she's in the water. Right, okay. But they mentioned vulnerabilities. Right. I can tell you what happened after that press conference. When they finished that press conference, and I watched it, and I did my video, and I, as many other people did as well, and many journalists, reporters, and people with a vested interest in this, ex-forensic police people, ex-police officers, ex-detectives, who were all flooding this thing with like condemnation of the handling of this case. What happened afterwards? The press approached the Lancashire Police press team, their media team, and said, do you know what you've just done? You've done this press conference to try and combat and quell all the social media speculation and people arriving in St Michael's on Wire and breaking into abandoned buildings. Apparently even old folks, there's only 600 to 650 residents in St Michael's on Wire, and a lot of them are old folks. But people have been trying doors and looking in windows of old folks sitting there watching the telly. Now, for God's sake, stop that shit. Stop it. Just stop it. You're being ridiculous now. But I will say that the media frenzy created a social media frenzy. Lancashire Police, with their mishandling, has created more and more issues. But this has been more and more highlighted, and the more that you highlight it, the more people are going to get involved. So this is a maelstrom and a catastrophe of your own creation. You did this. You did this. It's all right for, what's her name again? Superintendent Becky Smith, to sit there and say, like, in all my 25 or 29 years of service, I've never seen anything like this. Well, you won't have done, because we're in an age inundated with social media interaction. News is 24/7. It's on the go the whole time. The minute you put on your social media device, but you hit with it, it's there. You try and watch something on YouTube, you get a fucking advert, and you're getting pop-ups about Nikki Bulley. So what can you do? It's everywhere. It's inundated everything. And you wonder, I've never seen it like this before. It's because we've moved on. And oh, you're great when you love your true crime TV shows or your dramas, which are, the biggest ratings ever is a TV crime drama. Everyone loves them. I like some. I'm not a follower of it at all. The Happy Valleys thing, Christ almighty, that, you bunch of hypocrites. I've done this before. I'm going off on a tangent, I know. Try and bring me back in a second or two before I go too far. Right at the finale of the Happy Valley final season, 2 days on normal TV were devoted to interviewing people from it, interviewing detectives and criminologists and forensic scientists about how accurate it all was. You bigged up a crime drama, a fictional crime drama, and foisted it into people who weren't even remotely asked about it. But you assumed that everyone in the world had been watching it. Many, many millions were, of course. But you boosted it. And then you suddenly realised that on the Wednesday, this was the Monday and Tuesday, every TV show was interviewing people from Happy Valley with Sarah Lancashire. Oh, a little irony there, if you like that sort of thing. Sarah Lancashire, Nikki Bulley goes missing in Lancashire. But you interview all these people and you're baking the whole thing. Oh, we're not going to give any spoilers in case you haven't seen it. We're going to talk about it now. Spoiler alert, mute your telly right now. Dunk. Oh God, it was pathetic. And then on the Wednesday, it's like you realised, shit, we've been going on about a fictional crime drama whilst a real life mystery involving Lancashire Police and lots of searches and an anguished family and it's prevalent, and we've just gone on about all this, and we've got media speculation, social media speculation. You created that environment. You absolute dickheads. You're seeing a rollback of media and all the TV presenters. Now they're condemning people that get involved when you've created an environment where people want to get involved. Anyway, I've been over all that shit before. Let's not do it again. There's no point. But that press conference was meant to, right, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and this is to quell the social media speculation, which has been quite appalling. I've never seen the likes of it before, which you created. End of. But then he mentioned that Nikki Bulley has vulnerabilities. So they then approach, the press approached the PR team for the police. Say, like, you've just created another void. People are going to come in. You've made it worse. So then, a couple of hours afterwards, well, it was a few hours afterwards, the same people came out with like a press release telling us what those vulnerabilities were. Now, I'm going to have to talk about it. You know, people are, oh, you shouldn't be talking about these things. It's everywhere now. So I'm going to talk about it. They said that her vulnerabilities were she's suffering badly from the menopause, right? She's had so many terrible effects from it. She had HRT, but the HRT was giving it really intense headaches. So she stopped taking the HRT, and the intense headaches, obviously, you know, well, the thing is, she had headaches to begin with, and they gave her HRT, which made them worse. So she came off that, and obviously all the side effects came flooding back in again, but much worse. And she has been struggling with alcoholism. He says, reaching with his bottle of whiskey. No irony, deliberate. I love this stuff. So, they said that. But they also said that they had attended 2 weeks prior to going missing on the 10th of January, an incident at the family house. Okay. Police officers and a health assistant, I think, arrived there, if I remember it rightly. And they said an incident there, but no arrests were made. That's a quote. No arrests were made. Straight away, everyone, the media, everybody is like, well, what was the incident? No arrests. So if you're saying there was no arrests, that means there was something taking place there, which obviously, well, you guys had to attend to it, but no arrests were made. So no arrests were made. It's like Lieutenant Frank Drebin from Police Squad in Naked Gun. Everything's blowing up behind him. Nothing to see here, nothing to see. Just move along, move on. There's nuclear weapons going off and warfare. Nothing to see here. Please move along. Again, it doesn't add up. So, now they get condemned. Lancashire Police get condemned for giving away personal details, which could be damaging to Nikki Bulley's reputation and the family, obviously. The family, to my knowledge, did not agree to that information being made public. But Lancashire Police have said that they knew we were going to do this. We did inform them first, and they didn't say no. Doesn't mean that they agreed to it, but the information came out there. Now, I'm going to do an unusual thing here now, because I've been very condemning of Lancashire Police, and I will continue to be so as well. But I think in this particular instance, on that day of the big press conference and then releasing this, they had put themselves into a really severe catch-22 situation. There is no way to win, as has been proved. If he hadn't said what those vulnerabilities were, the media speculation, and you've got to keep doing this. You've got the media, which is the main media, and then you've got social media. So both medias are going to go into uproar as to about, well, what could they be? Is she suicidal? Has she got financial debt? Has she got mental issues? They're going to come out with all of this stuff all the time. So then, oh shit, after the press told them, you've just created a mess for yourselves, you're going to have to come clean about it. So then they come out and they say what it is. And then they get condemned for it. It's a catch-22. At this particular stage, they couldn't win. No matter what they did, they couldn't win. But the point is, he said, with two pointy fingers, two of them. As everybody has said, including SGI, Peter Folding, specialist diver, sonar equipment, Peter Blexley, former Scotland Yard detective, and I keep forgetting the name, Palm Sandhu, former Met superintendent. You'll know her. When you see her on TV, she looks like Michael Jackson. An unnecessary comment, but you look at it, she does. She does. Have all said, you should have come out right away in like week 1 and said why you were focusing on the river as our working hypothesis is she's in the water. Well, why? Why? Because there's no evidence, there's no signs of a struggle, there's no signs of a slip, nothing. There's nothing there to indicate that she fell in the water. And most importantly, no body on a sluggish, hardly moving, not even that deep waterway at that point where the bench is. The bench. That'll be what when you make the movie, it'll be called The Bench. Nikki's Bench. Something like that. You should have said exactly why you were focusing on there at that point. Okay, I say the word point and suddenly my finger just goes like that. I don't know what it is. And just instinct. But you didn't. You waited, and everyone's frustration is, why do you think she's in the water? You're not saying, what evidence have you got? What are you withholding? Now, what has come to light since that I've read from a guy whose name I have forgotten and did not write down, but he's a member of the Crime Reporters Association, the CRA, right? Now, this guy has said, in times past, and he mentioned several cases, Millie Dowler, the main one. He said that when the police gave press conferences back in those days, and that isn't even that long ago, they would give a conference and they would say, which would be televised, so it'd be all over the news outlets. They'd say certain things, and then when it was finished, they'd take a few questions, but when it's finished, they'd say, right, now, this is the police saying this, right, turn off all your recording equipment and come with us to another room. And what they would do, they would then tell the press a lot more. We're doing this because we're combating certain elements in, again, speculation. And in the Millie Dowler case, what they were doing, there was a suspect who had been named, and suddenly everyone was turning on this particular individual. And he could have been lynched. Vigilantes could have taken this guy out. He was being completely destroyed. And he wasn't the guy. It was actually a serial killer who was later found. But if the police hadn't took that step to tell the press, the CRA, Crime Reporters Association, and there was an oath, do not report anything that we tell you in this room. And they wouldn't, the journos wouldn't do it, and the police knew that, and there was that mutual respect for each other. And the reason why they do that was to save that suspect while they build the case up against the person that they really thought was doing it. But you had to try and stop all this speculation without alerting the real culprit. Okay, so kind of makes sense. So the press and police were working together with information shared only between themselves, not to be made public until afterwards, after the conviction has been secured. Perfectly makes sense to me. Now, this guy has said they could have done that, and they should have done that. Even Peter Folding, the sonar super diver and all that, who's been up and was only given a certain portion of the river to check. I've talked about it a lot. He said, now this has all come out, if they told me that, it would have changed the way that I was searching. I'm not entirely sure how that would change it. Is the point that she perhaps has alcohol problems and is in a very bad mental state? because of the menopause issues and just in a very low point. Are they assuming, again, I know, are they assuming, and there's got to be reasons why, well, she's high risk and vulnerability because she's an alcoholic. Was she under the influence and may have just slipped, into the water? There's no evidence of that. Everyone who saw her that morning, before, of which there were plenty, she clearly wasn't drunk. But what was he thinking that? Well, we've already been to their house and there's been an issue with alcoholism or something at the house. So she may have took a tumble into the water. There'd still be evidence of that on the deck, I would have thought. And the body, obviously. Or was she, and I hate to say this, but it obviously rears its ugly head. If she's in such a bad place at the time, emotionally, mentally, did she take her own life? Did she throw herself into, the river? Free the dog, go back home, put everything down the bench and just take a leap. Again, where's the body? And there's no evidence for that either. So, but is that what they were thinking? Now, if they told Peter Faulding that, I don't know how it would change his particular search. But he said it would do. It would have changed everything. So I've got to take his word for it. So have you, because he's the guy in the know. This is what he does for a living, so he knows. And if they told the press this at the start, because this is the point I'm getting to. Again, see, I'm doing this. This is the point I'm getting to. The press, had they told the press right from the word-go, look, but separately, you've got to keep this quiet. This is what we know. She had these vulnerabilities, so we think she's in the water because of these reasons. The press would have reported it differently and not be like, why? Why are you looking at the water? Do you see how it would change the whole perspective? Because it would. The written word, online, in newspapers, magazines, and the spoken word on TV news outlets changes how people are perceiving what's happened. If you, every suspicion is she's in the water, don't question why. This would be week one, folks. Week one. This is when they should have done it, but without saying about the vulnerabilities. Now we're 3 weeks into it, with no further evidence. Either way, it's a complete and utter communications nightmare that Lancashire Police have created for themselves. They will not come out of this smelling of roses. Heads will roll. I said in the previous video, at the moment, all our eyes are rolling, but heads will roll on this case. They're already being investigated about the incident at the family home on the 10th of January. They're already being investigated over that. They're going to be investigated over this. Why? Because you've got the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, herself, not completely a stranger to controversy, emails and a lack of privacy and exposing certain elements that shouldn't have been exposed. Oh, that sounds really rude. I don't mean that. It just means in documents and emails and texts that she did. It's all over the news as well. But she has condemned Lancashire Police for their handling of this and wants it to be investigated into. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, he's also said, I've got concerns over Lancashire Police and the way that they've investigated this case. And but he also said, I'm happy that they are now conducting an inquiry into how it happened. You know how it happened. They're just dickheads and they fucked up completely and then tried to cover their arses, hide for a while, and then watched in horror as social media speculation grew and grew and grew till it engulfed them. And then they had to come out, oh, we've got to do something here. Shit. But then they tried to cover their ass as well, but then exposed vulnerabilities, leaving themselves wide open again. Oh, God. They're getting it wrong all the time. I do agree and concede at that point they couldn't possibly win. But this is a last stand that they did thrust themselves into. They boxed themselves into a corner of which they still are in at the moment, because by coming clean about what the vulnerabilities were, they've only opened up a huge and even bigger can of worms. Nikki Bulley's parents are distraught. Her father he's just praying for a breakthrough in this case. I hope there is one. I'm going to say right now, if she's in the water, she's dead. If she did happen to go down that path, right, the riverside path, and leave via the one way where there was no camera working, then, and she's alive, then someone has her. She's not walking the streets. Her face is plastered everywhere. She can't walk away from this. So if she's alive, someone's got her. She can't have disappeared and booked into a B&B somewhere. They're going to know it's her. Someone, if she's alive, somebody has her. But there's no ransom note. Nothing like that at all. So, if she hasn't drowned in the water, and she hasn't gone down that path into oblivion, because she'd be found, everyone knows what she looks like, she'd be found, she can't hide, she cannot possibly hide, unless she's being held, but even that doesn't make any sense, then you've got to look elsewhere. Now, you guys also know that I follow David Paulides and the Missing 411 phenomenon. There's got to be a rap I can make out of that somewhere. And how this case fits the profile for the many, many hundreds and hundreds of cases which he's unearthed in the national parks of America and Canada and beyond, where they are mysterious disappearances, vanishings of people where they're not suicidal, they haven't left a note, there's no criminal activity, there's no nothing. They are mysteriously vanished. They may be found in bizarre places where they couldn't possibly have got to, and in places where the search parties have gone over again and again and again, and then only weeks afterwards they're found, hang on, but we've been there. Found with either no wounds and no clear sign of death that's reported, or they're found alive, which is actually incredibly rare, found alive but with no recollection as to what happened, no reported recollection as to what happened. Again, yeah, it's bizarre, but you need to look at it though, because he only investigates certain cases which fit a profile, which makes it mysterious and part of the Missing 411 enigma. Now, Nikki Bulley's case fits a good several of those profile points. I'll tell you what they are now. There's a point of separation. She's got several points of separation. She left their kids at the school, took the dog out, but she spoke to a friend in the schoolyard as well. So point of separation from the kids, from the friend, took the dog out into the fields. She met several other dog walkers in that field, people that had seen her. She was never seen by the bench, never seen there at all, never seen at that vicinity. Upper field was where she was seen. So the last point of separation was in the upper field. Right. She was never vocal on the team talk that her phone was still keyed into. So, we can dismiss all that. Right. Phone's found there, lead and harness, dogs found. Body of water, that's another thing as well. Body of water. No sign of a struggle, no crime scene. In a lot of his cases, because it's North America and Canada in the wilderness, there's wild animals, grizzly bears, coyotes, mountain lions, all that sort of stuff. So no signs of predation. So that hasn't happened. Third party involvement, again, there's no evidence. The taxi red van has been sort of evaporated. No one's bothered about that. The weird hooded fisherman, again, it's going nowhere. The stained glove that TikTok detectives found is in police possession. It's in police hands, or there's a police hand inside that glove. They're saying nothing about that really. They said they've got it, but they don't think there's anything involved in that. So, point of separation, body of water, the river, no trace, no tracks, nothing. Vulnerability is another thing. Now, of course, we only knew this in the last couple of days. Most of the people that go missing, in fact, have either a physical impairment, a limp, a hip replacement, they've got one eye, they're blind, half blind, they've got dementia, they've got things, all mental issues, but they're healthy enough to go out into the wilds. This is the people in 411, but there's an issue. A lot of people are sports people as well, but they have an issue, a vulnerability, which makes them stand out. And suddenly now she's got vulnerabilities, alcoholism, and suffering from severe menopausal side effects, which has clearly had an effect mentally, as it would. Also, UFO activity. Now, don't go, oh, what? Oh, you're bringing that in. Well, I am bringing it in because Lancashire and that area is actually a UFO hotbed. There's sightings all the time. Preston, Morecambe and Blackpool have bloody millions. And I don't mean Blackpool lights. I don't mean the illuminations. They do. And this is an element which does creep in. Now, what I do not know is, and I wish I knew this for a fact, did the police bring tracker dogs in? Yeah, we know they brought Willow, the dog, back to the bench. The dog did not react, didn't give any adverse reaction, didn't go into a crazy panic, didn't point with a paw. It's in there, in the water. No, didn't do anything like that. Now, I reported earlier on in the previous video that I had read that the dog was taken to the upper field and did react badly. Now, I have absolutely zero confirmation of that. I read it twice. I'd seen two reports of that, but I've seen nothing about it since, nothing at all, and I've looked for it since for more validity, and it ain't there. So I can't endorse that now. I can't. But police tracker dogs, if brought in, do you know they can still track a scent years afterwards? They can track it on water. They can follow a scent. Even now, they can bring dogs in now and track her scent. They can find a body, a decomposed body, a skeleton, years and years and years. A bit of a case, they found a body 25 years after the person went missing, and they found the body. Tracker dogs. Funny how they didn't find it earlier, but is that another one where the body suddenly mysteriously arrived in a location where it had already been searched? So, did Lancashire Police bring tracker dogs in? I've seen nothing to say that they did. They maintain that the river is just one, it's their main working hypothesis, but they've got several others. 500, in fact, 500 other lines of inquiry. Fucking hell. So, bring dogs in to track the side of the river and track the fields. You've not done that. You've brought in specialist dive teams. You've used drones and all sorts of other resources, but you didn't bring dogs in. If they did bring dogs in and found nothing, okay, that's fine. But if they did bring dogs in and the dogs found no scent, no trace, no trail, that fits in to the missing 411 profile as well. The canines are brought in and find no trace. But I don't know if they have. So, what else have we got? What else? I think I've covered everything that's current at the moment. Oh, one other thing, just to correct what I said in the previous video as well. I talked about the documentary on Channel 5, Vanished, the mystery of Missing Nikki Bulley, which I only caught by chance. I was due out at a 30th birthday party, but ended up staying behind, awaiting a Chinese banquet. I'm waiting for that, but it arrived late, and then, we're flicking through channels, and I was still itching to go to the party, just down the road, and we found this documentary, and it's fantastic. But I did say that they interviewed Paul Ansell, her partner, and I said they interviewed her sister as well. It wasn't her sister, folks, it was her friend, who's been very vocal, who's been in lots of media interviews with all the TV news outlets, She's online all the time, always saying, trying to dispel myths and that, always defending her friend. I said it was her sister. That was my mistake. Her sister has commented many times, but she's not appeared on anything I've seen. So that was my mistake. I do apologise about that. I try to keep things as correct as I possibly can. But it seems that the minute I do this video, something else will happen. So, and I've said before that I'd love to be sitting here doing a video about this, and then suddenly someone comes into, and tells me, they found her, she's alive. And I can go, oh my God. Forget all I just said. She's fine, it's great. That isn't going to happen, folks. If she's hiding away somewhere, then someone's hiding her. She can't escape from the place because everyone knows what she looks like. Now, for example, myself. Say, cheers, John. I've had enough. And I want to do a Reggie Perrin and go and fake a suicide and reinvent myself. Well, you're going to have to change the way you look. I mean, look at me. Look at me. Everyone knows me. I mean, his fucking face is infinitely recognisable. He's got straggly, tatty hair. Well, I'd shave all that off, wouldn't I? Yes, I would. I might put some of that hair colouring for men's beards to try and take out all this shit or shave it all off. I wouldn't be wearing a vest, and I certainly wouldn't be wearing a kilt. I wear a kilt every single day of my life. Every day. I've done since 2015. So, I'm instantly recognisable. I've normally got a husky beside me as well, So, I'd have to put jeans on. Or some pair of, bipedal, sort of deportment pants. Just change the way I look drastically. So Nikki Bulley, has she done that? By the bench, shaved her hair off, cut that ponytail off, had to change her clothes, or did she know that she wouldn't be seen turning whatever direction it was at the end of that road? Garstang Road or whatever it is, where the camera isn't working. Has she gone down there? Did she get in the taxi red van and change clothes and then get driven off to a B&B or an airport? I don't know. Don't think so. I genuinely don't think so. But to hide away, you've got to have to either be locked away somewhere, away from windows, and have people protecting you, or harbouring you, or holding you. I genuinely hope and pray that she hasn't fallen prey to something like that where harm has come to her. But folks, I cannot see any positive outcome of this now for her. I can't. I just can't. In the water, you're dead. She's not floating down the River Wyre, is she? And then ducking behind the reeds whenever a little leisurely police boat goes past, a police dinghy. No, she's not. And if she's hiding somewhere, by chance you happen to go down the one path and turn the one direction where nothing was working camera-wise, this case stinks. UFOs, whisked up. At some point, that is just as logical as anything else anybody's ever said. It is. Or gone through a portal somewhere. You can't slam any theory because nobody fucking knows. She's not there. The dog ain't saying nothing. So, I don't know. Curiouser and curiouser. And more maddening and more damning for Lancashire Police. Who look like a right bunch of monkeys, don't they, at the moment? In a way of retaliating against the backlash against them, backlash against the backlash. That Superintendent Rebecca Smith has been denounced in certain outlets for wearing a skin-tight dress, stilettos, and having her hair done, you know, fuck off, you know. If I was a fucking police superintendent, I'd be there in a vest and a fucking kilt. I'm not wearing all me uniform and all that shite. She had the other guy next to her, the senior police officer, Peter Lawson, who she actually called Dawson. Couldn't even get that right. And now they're condemning her for looking like that. So now the police are going, well, I think in this day and age, that's nothing. That's purely misogynist and sexist. Yeah, it actually is. It just, slamming some of the way that they're dressed really is pretty low. And I'm not knocking her for that. Christ, no. She looked all right, I thought. With a Claudia Winkleman fringe and if you're going to appear in front of TV cameras, you don't look like a bag of shite, do you? Oh, I've got a face like a bag of elbows. I don't care. You're sitting in front of the fucking world's press. Go on, tell the story as it is. I've got a big zit on the side of my face. You're going to want to look your best, aren't you? Aren't you? That's just fucking human nature, I think. I'm not saying that she's not doing her job the best that she could do. She's not done it very well, let's be honest. And at least they haven't had, detective superintendent, or assistant detective superintendent, whatever the fuck she was, Sally Riley, who was in the first 2 weeks of all this, who was utterly shite. In any press conference, at any little interview, she was garbage. And I've said before, it's like she didn't believe a word that she was saying. She knew. And of course, we now know that she didn't believe what she was saying because there was loads of things that they were holding back. I don't know, folks. I don't know. There's a rabbit hole here. And we're all falling into it. All of us. What I will say, don't go up there. Don't threaten local councillors. Don't be sneaking around old folks' houses in the area, in the vicinity. Because that isn't helping. That is not helping. There's a genuine mystery here. Maybe someone knows something that they haven't said. Maybe the police are closing a net, as I keep on saying, as a little caveat. Maybe they are closing a net, but they've done it really badly. Really, really badly. They've handled their communication with the media and all of us in a truly deplorable way. So, you know, they've created this mess for themselves. They haven't helped the family at all. They haven't helped Peter Folding, who was the one guy who could prove definitively in the water or not. Peter Folding, again, I mean, he said, is he up there now? I've not seen anything. I may have missed it. I've not seen that he's actually up there conducting the land search. He said only a few days ago he's going to go back up there in his own time, free of charge, and help the family and do a land search now with his tech and his team and do it his way, but on land. But I don't know if he actually went up there. If he has, please someone comment below and just let me know, because there's so much to troll through and I haven't seen it. I've seen him saying things about how, you know, the family's dead frustrated about the police and all that, and there's certain things the family can't say because they still want to, you know, have the police involved. I remember something else. Yeah, that former Met superintendent, oh god, Michael Jackson, what's her name, Palm Sandhu, said she thought she turned against the Lancashire Police after that documentary, when she was actually kind of on the fence and defending them more than Mark William Thomas, who was really coming down against them, and Peter Folding was there as well, who was also slightly against the police. She was defending their actions to a degree. Well, the other day, she totally wasn't defending them at all. They handled this really badly. This is what should have happened in my day. We'd have done it this way. What they've done here is completely wrong and abhorrent. And she said, what else did she say? Oh, I've forgotten now what she said. Oh, that's not great, isn't it? What a great way to round off the video. I forgot what she said. Oh no, what was it? Well, she denounced the police anyway. Let's just leave it at that. She was not a fan of their procedures and the way it's been handled, and that it wouldn't have been done that way in her day, and she knows their stuff as well. So these guys ain't coming out of this with any great reputation at all, are they? Jesus, this is bizarre. I've remembered, thanks for sticking with us. I've remembered. She said the only reason they've come out with the vulnerabilities thing and then said about what the vulnerabilities are is they're going to scale down the search. This is what she said. They're going to scale down the search now. The only reason they've done that, it means they're going to start moving resources away from the search and with a view to closing the whole search down as just an unsolved mystery, a missing person, of which there are many. There's many missing people that have been found. Many. There's loads from around here that gone missing. In the last couple of years, there's been loads that have gone missing. But you don't hear about those stories, do you? But people go missing all the time. And the search cannot last forever. It just can't do that. They can't sustain it. In America, this search would not have lasted as long as it has done. Which brings me to another missing person, Julian Sands, actor Julian Sands. Right, as of today, I saw this news. He's been missing for, Christ, what is it now? 5 weeks? It's like 5 weeks. In the Baldy Mountain, the San Gabriel mountain range, just outside of Los Angeles. He went missing, and on Friday the 13th of January, and hasn't been found. But bad weather hit, snow, blizzards, strong winds, stormy stuff. There's a new storm about to hit them imminently. So this morning I read that the sheriff's county office there, they have said we're going to instigate a ground search while we've got a chance before this storm hits. So they're going up there. They're probably there right now. As I speak, they'll be ground pounding right now to search the area for him on foot. They haven't been doing that. I think private people have been, family and friends have been doing it, but and other people who've got involved because they know Julian Sands and experienced their searchers or mountaineers, climbers, hikers. But the police and the proper search and rescue teams are going to go in right now before this new storm hits, because it'll be their last chance to do it. But again, you're not going to find Julian Sands alive, if you can find him. Folks, it's a crazy world, But we have these institutions in place to try and reassure us and help us when things go bad. And when things don't work out the way you think they should do, it's easy to point the finger, see how I stopped, I didn't point, I fought the urge to point now. It's easy to point the finger and point blame at somebody for not acting soon enough or going in the wrong place or turning off the search too soon. And in America, they do turn searches off a lot quicker than they've done here for Nikki Bulley. That's a good thing that they're keeping doing this. It's a good thing that her name, her face is in the media all the time, because the general public are not going to let this go. Which is why, no matter what Palm Sandu has said, they've done this because it's going to be a wind down. This is the final thing before a wind down of the search operation. Well, they're not going to be allowed to do that, are they? In many ways. So, folks, this is an ongoing, enduring mystery. Let's hope there's closure for both Julian Sands and Nikki Bulley. It's incredulous, isn't it? It genuinely is. America's a much bigger place. Their wilderness areas are much more vast than ours. But, you can still go missing. You turn a corner, go missing. What happened? And this is a lot of the missing 411 cases. People go missing in cities and found in canals, but they were nowhere near the canal at the last point of contact. There's so much more to this. This is a true phenomenon. And at the moment, as it stands right now, Nikki Bulley's case is sitting firmly in the missing 411 category, I would say. Julian Sands is not. He went missing during a storm. And then avalanches and hypothermia, a fall, trapped, died. Hypothermia, starvation, or a really bad fall. So it's not that mysterious. However, Nikki Bulley's case is resolutely an enigma. Oh dear God. Yeah, bravo, I finally got the word out. So the band strikes up. Folks, stay invested in this case. Don't let the police drop this. Something's happened here. Let them keep on going and don't let it lose steam. But don't interfere. Don't go up there. Don't do that. Jesus, it's ghoulish, and I understand the police's response to that. You're just getting in the way. Let us do our job. They appear not to be doing the job correctly, but at least they are trying. You will get in the way. They've ruined the crime scene, of course. But as I said before, tracker dogs can still, even 3 weeks down the line, trace hair scent if there's a scent to be traced. The other mystery is that the tracker dogs don't have a scent. They know the scent, but there's nothing to follow. They just stand there looking stupid. Well, they didn't go that way, that way, that way, that way. They're not there. And I'll say it again, they can trace a scent on water. They don't lose a scent on water. I know, I did escape an evasion. I was tracked across streams and rivers by dog teams. I did that, so I know that for an absolute fact. But that's another story. I was training, so it was all right. I wasn't on the run, But, and they can trace a scent a long time after the person has gone. They can find the body in a field, on a mountainside, in a river. They can do it. So if dogs have been brought in and found no trace, please comment below and let me know, because it's a blind spot for myself. I don't know if they've done that. Anyway, folks, I've said plenty again, and we will talk more. But I'm not doing things every day, because let things build up, let stuff happen, so I can do a bit more. Or if we get the breakthrough that Nikki Bulley's father so pleads for and prays for, then clearly, if news, genuine news, good or bad, or a breakthrough, some major piece of evidence or a lead comes through, yeah, I'll talk about it. But for now, I've said enough, and yeah, I am condemning Lancashire Police, like the Prime Minister of my country and the Home Secretary of my country and every former police intelligent, someone who knows, who's invested in this sort of work, has said, "We've done it wrong. This has been wrong. That's been wrong. The idiots, what they're doing. This has been a fallacy. It's been a farce. It's been a masquerade." I've heard all these words, and all these experts, former, current, consultants brought in, are all saying it. This case has gone very badly wrong and been mishandled from the start. And if that has led to someone's death and has or led to any kind of suffering, the family, then it's on the heads and shoulders of Lancashire Police. And they'll face another big inquiry, and our trust in the police will be diminished even further. And I do not want to say that. Need a police force, you need it. But perhaps not this one. Too many things are going wrong. You ain't doing your job properly. worst of all, you then close ranks and try to cover your ass. And it's now been exposed by Lancashire Police. When you turn round and try to close the wagons, it comes unstuck. You're gonna get found out. And you got found out because you made mistakes and then basically confessed to them. This is a terrible, terrible case. Anyway, folks, with this suitably ominous and somber piece of music playing from John Barry's amazing score for the 1976 version of King Kong, I'm going to love you and leave you. So please, in the meantime, in this ever bewildering, baffling in-between time, please keep it Celtic, keep it Celtic, and I am going to see you all laters. And just keep a prayer in your hearts that this is going to turn out with a conclusion. I, in my heart of hearts, do not think there's going to be a happy conclusion to this. You're all thinking it. If she walked off somewhere, she'd have been found. In the river, she'd have been found. So unless she's hiding somewhere, or somebody is hiding her, laters, folks. Laters.